We have a major injury update around Tre Jones. We're going to be talking about how much time he is set to miss and what adjustments Billy Donovan is going to have to make this season. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today, we're looking at the most recent injury update around Tre Jones, and it looks like that he is set to miss some time. And so we're going to be talking about what Billy Donovan is going to have to do as far as making adjustments to the rotations to keep the Chicago Bulls trending in the right direction. And so before we go ahead and jump into that, I first wanted to remind you that 72.3% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you go ahead and you slam dunk on that subscribe button. It means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our end of the season subscriber goal. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's content, and starting with Tre Jones and his injury update. So this can be found on Bulls.com or NBA.com, and you'll get to it. And it is saying that, look, he does have a left foot sprain, and he is set to be re-evaluated in 2 weeks. It looks like that we will get updates as appropriate. And so with that being said, that is a huge loss for the Chicago Bulls because Tre Jones has been playing at a super high level. In fact, this last game against the Sacramento Kings, he was certainly just a big piece for the Chicago Bulls, just driving back to get this win. He had 15 points. He had 7 assists. He had 4 rebounds, 2 steals. He was +8, 6 of 10 from the field, 1 of 2 from deep, 2 of 2 from the free throw line in 33 minutes. And in fact, the last assist that he had, it was to Kevin Huerter, which essentially pretty much ended the Sacramento Kings. And so, look, Tre Jones, man, talking about his impact, I know he is not Lonzo Ball, and I've said this before, but man, he makes plays a lot like Lonzo Ball. And starting with his basketball IQ on the offensive end, I love how he moves off of the ball. I think that he might be the best for the Chicago Bulls as far as with the off-ball movement. I think that really leads to a lot of easy layups, and I think that that is something that really has been contagious for the Chicago Bulls. I feel like the ball movement has been even better since he has been in the lineup. And next, I just love how he's able to make his reads because as Kobe White, Josh Giddey, or really anybody is getting downhill, if you notice a make or a miss, I think that Tre Jones is always doing the correct thing as far as rotating into the correct pockets and being ready as a shooter. And so it's not necessarily him making it, but it's him making the right adjustment to make the defense rotate properly to open up other things. And so I think from a basketball IQ level, he certainly gets it, and you know he can get it to you on the fast break. I think the assist, they just really, the numbers show, for themselves. And then when you look at the defensive end, look, I know Lonzo, he's out there, he's doing double teams and everything else, but I think that Tre Jones really leads on the defensive end in a different way. And I've said that, look, there is not a team that comes in and says, hey, we are looking to go after Tre Jones, because Tre Jones competes on the defensive end. I loved his activity as far as getting, his hands on the basketball and getting these deflections and getting us out into the fast break. So I think he understands that. He's a willing rebounder as well on the defensive end. And so we are certainly going to miss that. And when you look at just what he's been able to do since joining the Chicago Bulls, I mean, at this point in time, he is making a higher percentage from the three-point line. He's shooting about 50% with the Spurs earlier this season. He was at 38.8. His free throw percentage, has gone up with the Chicago Bulls. He's up to 88.2 with the Spurs earlier this season, 75.8. And his points, he's already surpassed what he scored with the Spurs earlier this year. Since being traded to us, he scored 207 points with the Spurs. He had 123. And his field goal percentage, look, it's at 57.2 with the Bulls. It was 48.4 with the Spurs. And so you just see how much better he's gotten as a player since he's been with us. And then when you look at just the numbers over the last 10 for Tre Jones, 14.5 points a game, 1.1 steals, 7 assists, 81% from the free throw line, 58.8%, and this is over the last 10 from the field, and 32.6 minutes a game. So that is just what he is doing with that level of minutes and just the production that we're getting. So Tre Jones, man, he's definitely going to be missed. And now it just leads us to that next question of just what are the Chicago Bulls going to need to do to make the adjustment? And I think that there's two things that Billy Donovan is going to have to do. One, he's going to have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and he's going to have to play, I think, Jalen Smith and also to Zach Collins some more. And I don't think that neither one of those players are going to slow down what the Chicago Bulls are doing, because they're both willing to run the lanes. And so we're still going to be able to play at a fast tempo. And also, too, they're going to be able to hit the boards. And with Zach Collins, look, he's an exceptional passer as well. And so that would, I think, make up for the assists that you're probably going to miss with Tre Jones in his absence. And so that is one way I think that you can make up for some of the things that you're going to miss there. And defensively, with the length that both of those players provide, that's just a bonus. And then I think next for Billy Donovan, I think another thing he's going to have to do is really, it comes down to the trust. And, you know, we've talked about this before with him having to trust players. I think that immediately you think, okay, THT, definitely Javon Carter. These are players that certainly Billy Donovan trusts. But I think it's time that you start to trust some of these younger guys, and especially the younger guys that have stepped up here as of late for you, starting with Julian Phillips. Look, I think that Julian Phillips, he is really carving out, I think, just a role for himself in being a specialist. I love the fact that he is willing to knock down the corner three-point shot. I think that he's been very comfortable with that. And he's also showing you that, look, he is a slasher that can get out and run with the guards out there. And defensively, man, I love how he uses his energy and athleticism. And just in his last game out, he did not even score the basketball like that, but he was a plus 18 for us. 2.6 rebounds, a steal. He was plus 18 in the game, and that's on 1 of 8 shooting. So you have got to love that about Julian Phillips and why I think Billy Donovan has to play him. And then next, you know, I think another player that we have got to think about playing is going to be Dalen Terry. Look, I think that Dalen Terry has done a great job on this road trip as far as knocking down three-point shots. Like, he looks super confident in that. And I think that that's really the next step for him, is just kind of doing the same thing that Julian Phillips has done, is really being able to be, I think, really dependent upon as far as knocking down the three-point shot. I think that once he does that, the energy, the effort level that he comes with every game, I think that that is certainly going to get him on the floor. And much like Julian Phillips, man, I think that he's shown a ton of athleticism, and I think that that's just going to be the key. But it's time for Billy Donovan to trust both of those players. And I think moving forward as a franchise, look, they both showing you flashes. It's time now that you go out there, you give these guys the chances. They've certainly stepped up in some big moments for us, and I think that it is time to just really start to put the trust into these guys. And so anyway, let me know in the comments here, do you think that, yes, Billy Donovan, he needs to start to play Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips extended minutes while we were without Tre Jones, and then also to Lonzo Ball? And then also to, do you think that, yes, he probably should start to play a little bit more of Jalen Smith, and then also to Zach Collins as well, to help us out, since these players are not going to be available? So anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking. As we always say, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the post game. All right, peace.